Welcome to the QB Chronicles, an SMU Football Podcast with Garrett, Gilbert, and Kyle Padron. Join former SMU quarterbacks Garrett and Kyle as they break down each week's game, offering insights from their own experiences on the field. In addition to game analysis, we'll also bring you special episodes featuring interviews with past and present SMU players, sharing their stories and perspectives. Whether you're a diehard Mustang fan or just love football, this podcast is your go-to source for all things SMU football. Pony up!
For being here. We are live today at the Over-Under Sports Bar in the Village, Dallas. Our ponies are on the road taking on Virginia and Charlottesville at 11 a.m. My name is Kyle Padron. I played quarterback at SMU from 2009 to 2011. And joined by my friend and co-host here, fellow Hawaii Bowl champion, Garrett Gilbert.
I was looking for some sort of special intro today, KP.
Yeah,
It's good to be here, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate you all being here. This podcast is brought to you by the 1911 group. Mitch and Lindsey Brown started this group, promoting basically community within SMU and people to do life together, do business together. We're grateful for Mitch and Lindsey for setting this all up. To our friends, Billy Embody and the On3 sports team, On the Pony Express, thank you for all of your support. If you're joining us online, that's thanks to Billy Embody and his team. And we're just incredibly excited to be here. Over Under, thank you for opening your doors for us to be here as well. What should be an exciting day for the SMU football program. We are playing for a right. If we win, we earn a spot in the ACC championship. In SMU's first year in a Power 3 conference, and that's right, I said Power 3. There's technically 4, but we don't count the Big 12 these days after the departure of Texas OU. But excited to be here nonetheless. Over Under, thanks again. Garrett, I think we start just kind of walking through the SMU season, how we got here today. We're sitting at 9-1, 6-0 in conference play. Love for you to kind of take us through how we got here today.
Yeah. Again, thanks to Over Under, Billy, 1911 group, On3, everybody. As Kyle already mentioned, this has been a ton of fun to do this year, and so glad to have so much support from the SMU community and excitement around the program. I think that's kind of where you start. We have this first year into a power conference. A lot of work went into that, getting ourselves into a power conference. And then if you go back, just talking football, if you go back to the beginning of the year, Kyle, remember we've said this 2 or 3 times this year, but this is the way the football season goes. We escape against Nevada on the road. Sort of started the year with the 2 quarterback system, and there were a lot of questions around that. Preston came back in late in that Nevada game and led us on a couple of huge touchdown drives, threw a game-winning touchdown to RJ Maryland, and we're flying home from Nevada 1-0, but a little bit nervous about what's going to happen with the rest of the season, right? And then we go out and dominate Houston Christian and play a pretty stress-free game there. And then play at home against BYU, and it just kind of felt like a deflating performance, right? Going into a bye week, we lose 18-15, get the ball down into the red zone a ton, don't come away with points, turn the ball over, a lot of field goals, and head into the bye week. And we come out of the bye week, and what happens? We make a quarterback switch, and there were a lot of questions about that early on, right? I think
a critical point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I both were critical of that decision, frankly. I think that's been proven to be a very cold take.
We were wrong. We were wrong.
By both of us early on. We thought that there were some problems with the team that weren't going to be switched just by switching quarterbacks. But man, this Kevin and the coaching staff really proved us wrong, because the team got hot right after that, went and dominated. TCU came into to our house. We dominated them.
Gosh, it's so fun to be.
Yeah, no doubt, sure is. That's a little home. That's a good time at home for you, isn't it?
Yeah, love you, Carolina. I think you're watching.
And then get into ACC play, and obviously everything's been great since then. We've had a couple close calls, certainly so. Duke, our last away game, which we'll get into a little bit more. This is the first time going on the road since the Duke game. And then last week against BC was also a tight game. But A lot of good football being played by the Ponies, and it's really an exciting time to be an SMU fan. So here we are. Like Kyle said, we're sitting at 9-1. Every week up to this point, we talked about 1 week seasons. Well, now we're to a point where win and we're in. And certainly, we do think that the ACC will have an automatic bid with the conference championships. We'll get into the playoff here in a little bit and what that's going to look like. But obviously, we'd love to win both of them, but it starts with just winning this one right here in front of us against Virginia.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the guys. You mentioned, we're having a great year. Want to highlight a few guys at quarterback. You mentioned earlier with that quarterback transition. Redshirt freshman out of South Oak Cliff, Kevin Jennings. Kevin took over the range front press, and as you mentioned, after the BYU game, and really has not looked back. I think, again, we were critical of that situation and that decision. Kevin and the coaching staff have proved us wrong throughout the year. Kevin's played lights out seemingly all year long. He's completing 65% of his passes. He's thrown for just about 2,200 yards and 15 touchdowns in the air. And really, just the start for Kevin. There's so much room for growth. As he's, again, just a redshirt freshman. The ceiling is very high for Kevin. Excited to see how it continues to progress.
Yeah, I think the thing that's been exciting about Kevin was just watching him make the right play so often. There was some flashes of brilliance last year when he came in, and then even early this year, whenever he was kind of split in time, there were flashes of brilliance. But as is often the case when there's two quarterbacks playing the same position, you find that, you press a little bit and you're looking to make the great play instead of just the right play. And now that the reins have been handed over to Kevin the past 7 games, he has been incredibly efficient, and he's just done what the coaches asked of him. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't times where the brilliance shines. We went through that play last week. The third down conversion against Boston College sticks out in my mind. There are a number of others. His ability to extend plays is something that I did not have the ability to do during my time. I think we're on the same page there, right? But he just has this supernatural ability to extend plays and keep his eyes downfield. There are a few plays that stick out in my mind in that regard, but he's done a great job again making the right play, and I think it's been cool to see guys like Louis Riddick and Nick Saban and the guys on game day give him some due credit. And I think, and I'm not mistaken in saying he's a Davey O'Brien semifinalist as well, right? So he well-deserved, and it's been really exciting to watch him play.
Yeah, we're going to move to, I think, probably most people's favorite player, certainly Garrett's favorite player, and talk about our running backs for Rashard Smith. Mitch's favorite player as well. We're getting some funny looks in the crowd here. Rashard Smith, he is a recently named Doak Walker semifinalist. He has been, really a bright spot in our offense all season long. He's just electric. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. Anytime he touches the football, he can say that's probably like a couple of guys, but Rashard specifically, I'm honestly surprised you're not wearing one of these Bring the Doak on Rashard Smith shirts right now. I think Garrett sleeps in that each night before bed.
A couple times a week.
Yeah, go ahead and give us your thoughts on Rashard Smith in the backfield.
Well, if you've been listening all year, you know that I've loved watching Rashard. I have a little bit of a man crush on him, watching him play football. I think you go back to when he transferred here from Miami. He was a slot and a kick returner at Miami, and to make the move to running back, and I think what sticks out to me is just watching him. He looks so natural playing running back, and I actually don't know. If he played running back in high school. I'd imagine he had to have in the past because he just has a really, really good feel for it. And I think what he does so well is, again, he's a highlight reel waiting to happen, but so often he is willing to go get the tough yards. Probably one of my favorite plays of the season was his 1-yard touchdown against Duke on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. Getting the toss on the kind of the misdirection toss, and he had to go take 2 guys on at the goal line and put his shoulder down and ran right over him for the touchdown. And everyone thinks of him as kind of a speed demon, but again, the willingness to go get those tough yards is what I've been so impressed with so far this year by Rashard. And I think again, his pass as a receiver, you watch him catch the ball, he looks incredibly natural. He catches the ball really well with his hands, and I think he's just a weapon all over the field. Great kick returner as well. So he's been really fun to watch, and certainly a blessing for the Ponies.
100%. You mentioned Rashard's fantastic out of the backfield catching the football. without a true number one like SMU's had seemingly for the last decade. You go back to Emmanuel Sanders, Portland Sutton, you name a guy over the last 10 years, or talk about a team, there's probably a number one receiver on that team. This team's different. It's more by a committee approach.
Yeah.
Guys like Jordan Hudson, Romello Branson, Keyshawn Smith, Roderick Daniels, these guys are stepping up different weeks. Last week we saw Jordan had 7 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. Keyshawn has had 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Roderick Daniels, I call him a Swiss Army knife. That guy is just incredible with the football in his hands, and I love the way that Lashley and the offensive staff is finding ways, creative ways to get him the football. We saw it last week on his touchdown. They had his own read with the ability to kind of have a little bubble, kind of backs out to the sideline, kind of puts that guy in a monkey in the middle situation, an outside linebacker. He takes Kevin, throw it out to Roderick, let him go score. If he takes Roderick, Kevin can run it, get as much as he can, potentially score on the ground too. And I just love the creativity of our offense. Red has shown really week to week there's new wrinkles in the system. And you and I have talked really the last several weeks about, with this by committee approach from the receivers, there's really not with the lack of a true number one, these defenses are in tough spots of, who's the guy that we double? If we've got to take care of Rashard, we're leaving guys like Roderick, leaving guys like Jordan, leaving guys like Keyshawn Smith in one-on-one situations. And Kevin, kudos to Kevin, has taken advantage, he's identified those one-on-one matchups, but he's also delivered the football nicely over the last several weeks. And just love the way this offense is playing and getting all these different guys involved.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a couple things there. Number one, our go-to guy, our number one, obviously was, I think, RJ Maryland. I think everyone would agree with that. And, with him going down, I think a little credit goes to Matt Hedner for stepping in as well and, finding a way to make meaningful catches. The other thing that I think is kind of gets lost on some people is, you talked about that touchdown to Roderick last week. I thought what was impressive about that play was the scheme and everything was great. These receivers are out there blocking for each other, and that's not something that a lot of receivers are willing to do. You run those kind of slow developing zone reads, and receivers have to block DBs for kind of a long, 2 or 3 seconds, which is a long time to hold on to a block out in space, especially in one-on-one. So just kind of speaks to the team aspect of this thing, and it's all by committee. I mean, again, we saw Jordan Hudson make some plays last week, but he's also blocking down the field for Roderick. He's also blocking down the field for Rashard on these big runs. So there's a nice little by committee aspect to the entire receiving core and all the skill guys, and I think that's what's continued to let all of them have their turn at being successful. So I think all those numbers are great, but you watch them play for each other, and I think that's what's lent a lot to our success the past few weeks.
Yeah, I think on the other side of the ball, that's also contributed to our success. Known affectionately as club takeaway, they've been forcing turnovers and scoring points all season long. Hopefully, they continue to do that today against a Virginia football team that has struggled offensively, has turned the ball over, frequently, early and often. But guys like Kobe Wilson, Isaiah Nkwovia, Jonathan McGill have all stepped up huge and critical points throughout the season, but love the way that this defense plays, a ton of energy, extremely physical. They dominate the line of scrimmage. Got battled last week, got challenged last week with Boston College in the run game. I think we're better in the run game than what we showed last week.
Yeah.
But certainly the defense has stood strong all year long, kind of that bend, don't break mentality, certainly against Duke. And I would say the defense probably is the only reason we won that game against Duke, the turnovers we had there. But defensively, I love the energy, love the pace and speed at which they play with, and the aggressive, physical nature on the defensive side of the ball. We'll get a compliment having Elijah Roberts back today. I think he was missing last week, part of the struggles in the run game. We're due to him being out. Excited to get him back today. The club takeaway has been a bright spot all season long. Look forward to seeing them hopefully take the ball away a few times today.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis today is can we get back on that turnover train? And then just the other thing that just to mention quickly about the defense. Obviously, we don't like talking about defense much around here, but it has been a huge part of our success. It's just listening to Coach Lashley on the college football rankings show the other night, and I think his final point of the night was this goes for the entire team. You just can't coach speed, and there's just speed all over the field. So that's one thing that's been apparent in every game this year is that this team is fast, and I think they're going to be able to run with anyone that they play going forward.
Well, let's move over and let's chat about Virginia a little bit. This team is 5-5 on the year. They've lost 4 of the last 5, coming off of a beating from Notre Dame last week. They're offensively, I think they're averaging 22, 23 points a game. Defensively, they're getting up close to 28 points a game. Ranked 87th in scoring defense, 87 out of 133 football teams across the country. So I think there's a huge opportunity for how explosive our offense is to expose this Virginia defense. Excited to see the matchups to watch. Obviously, Kevin Jennings is going to do a great job creating, but would love to see our offense continue to get off to a fast start. I think we've seen that each of the last several weeks.
You're stealing all of my keys to the game right now.
Well, you know what, Garrett? The floor is yours, my friend.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm looking for the exact same things today. I think this is a team that's listen. Frankly, this has the chance to be a trap game if we're not careful. It's an 11 o'clock game. We're up in sleepy Charlottesville, Virginia. This team, sure, Virginia's fighting to get bowl eligible, but they're not fighting for the conference title. We're double-digit favorites. We got it. It's going to be very important to go out and start fast. And I think our defense sort of owes Virginia, not specifically Virginia, but after last week's performance, I think we owe ourselves to put a good performance on the field today. And like you mentioned, I think finding a way to get club takeaway rolling again today is going to be huge. Virginia's not been good on third down on offense. So I think, let's get them into long yardage situations, make them throw the ball. There's a chance that 2 quarterbacks will play. Calandria has been the guy all year, but he's got 11 interceptions. Got to be ready for Tony Muskett as well. But, let's get them into long yardage situations, force them into must throws, let our defensive line tee off. Virginia's given up a lot of sacks this year. And then, on offense, let's go take advantage. Let's force some turnovers and go take advantage, start fast, and get the ball to our playmakers.
Yep, you touched on Virginia's offense. The quarterback situation would be something to watch. How short of a leash potentially Calandria has with those interceptions, his recent struggles. Their strength is in the running game. They've got a couple of running backs. Find their names: Kobe Pace and Xavier Brown. Xavier Brown is averaging 6.2 yards per carry, and Pace is averaging 4.5 yards per carry. So again, last week we struggled against the run against Boston College. Look forward to a strong response from our defense. Getting Elijah Roberts back is going to be huge. But I do expect our defense to be a little bit more firm and strong in the run game. And really, those are the guys to stop. In the passing game, they've struggled. But at receiver, they've got a 6'4" target. Let's see, where's Malachi Fields, 6'4". He's really their number one guy and really their only standout receiver. So there's 3 guys offensively that we need to focus on, being those 2 running backs and finding ways to contain Malachi Fields. He's going to make some plays. He'll be their guy, third and medium, third and long. Watch for him. Big possession type receiver. Suspect that their quarterback will probably try to force feed it in a little bit. He's got 746 yards on the season, 4 touchdowns. But we limit those guys. It should be a fun day. And come around 2 o'clock, 2:30, be a fun celebration for the Pony fans in Charlottesville, Virginia, but also here in the great city of Dallas.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on it all. I was going to talk about the 2 backs as well. I think they're so a little bit of a similar to what we have with Bashard and LJ, but sort of the opposite. Kobe Pace has been their feature back, so to speak. He's got a good amount more carries than Xavier Brown. But Xavier comes in and is kind of the home run threat. So got to be prepared for those 2 guys. And then obviously, like you just mentioned, the receiver Malachi, is it Wilson? Nelson.
No,
almost had it. Anyway, so and the last thing I want to touch on is this team has, they're -3 on turnovers for the year, but they have forced a lot of turnovers. They just they're averaging almost 2 turnovers a game on offense. So we've got to take advantage of that and win the turnover battle today, especially on the road. I mean, we talked about the last time we were on the road at Duke. I think it was the second time ever that a team has won a game when losing the turnover battle 6-0. And so let's just not have a repeat of that. I think that's the biggest thing is let's go win the turnover battle. 3-4-0, play a clean game on offense, and we'll be coming home with a chance. Well, we'll be coming home with a trip to the ACC title game clinched if we can do that.
Yeah, and that's what's on the line. SMU's got to win one game to earn their spot into the ACC championship. Obviously, we'd prefer that to be today, then hold off and potentially lose one, and then be required to win against Cal next week. Let's talk about, I think we covered it last week, but scenarios for potential opponents if we do get into the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
Really, Miami and Clemson are the other two vying for that other spot.
That's exactly right. I think Clemson's finished up their ACC slate, so they're kind of waiting and hoping for either of two scenarios. Obviously, we want to handle our business, but I think we're SMU to lose both of their remaining games. That would give Clemson a berth in the title game. And I think really Clemson's rooting for outside of that is Miami to drop one of their final two. They've got two more on the slate. Starting with today, they play Wake Forest, which they are favored by 3 touchdowns. Crazier things have certainly happened, but they've got to handle business against Wake, and then they go to Syracuse next week. So that's kind of the scenario is, we go win, hopefully both of these last 2 games, one at a time, and then we'll have either Miami or Clemson waiting for us in Charlotte, North Carolina.
But let's you want to give your prediction for today's game?
Absolutely. Let's see here. I think we touched on real fast. We touched on most of the keys to the game, and I think the other key is, as it has been all year, is going to be the fronts, right? The offensive line setting the tone early. Again, this has a chance to be a sleepy game. Go knock them in the mouth to start the game off, and let's continue to run the ball well like we have all year, and then defensively stand up to their running game, make them throw the ball, and then force them into some situations in long yardage where we can get some turnovers. I think this is going to be a game that may start close, but I think the Ponies pull away late for a 38-17 victory.
Ooh, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to. I mean, the closest is going to be a 0-0. I think we're going to start fast. Score within really 2-3 drives in a row to start the game. I think we're going to win 42-17. I think they scored late, getting some guys some extra time in the back end of the game. But I think we start fast. Had some rest last week. We shook off coming off that bye week. But I think they're ready to go, and they know what they're playing for. They've already exceeded expectations, at least from the experts and kind of the fans. I think in that locker room there's a belief that is different. I think they probably expected to be in this situation, and they know exactly what they have to do to get to where they're trying to go on the journey here. I think they come out and respond from last week, giving up, struggling against the run. Big offense, they don't miss a step. They continue to be explosive and start fast. I think we come away with 42-17. Again, they score some late points, but I don't think it's close at all, except for when the kickoff starts at 0-0.
So you think the game's going to go over the 54.5 point total then? Because that's without looking. I don't know if you looked, but I had it right on 55, and you had it just a few points over that. So again, this is not gambling advice, but both of us have the Ponies covered.
I'm not a betting man.
No.
I just
too neurotic to do so.
I believe and believe. Ted Lasso reference. And believe in the Ponies. It's an exciting time. To answer your question, yes, we'll take the over today.
All right.
Not wasting money. I don't recommend taking my advice to place money of your own. But yeah, we'll hit the over today.
All right.
Let's take a peek around college football today. What are you watching?
Well, we obviously have outside of the Pony game, we got another big 11 o'clock kickoff between the Indiana Hoosiers, the upstart Indiana Hoosiers, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm really interested to watch this game because I think Indiana, deservedly so. I mean, 10-0 start. This has been another fun story around college football to watch them have success with first-year coach Kurt Cignetti, who, by the way, is an absolute he's almost as fun to listen to in press conferences as Jameis Winston. He is so cocky and unapologetic. I think his quote was, "I win, just Google me," in his opening presser for the year.
Man, I haven't heard that since Emmanuel Sanders 2009.
Oh my God. Wow. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
That was his favorite comeback when people talk trash. Just Google me. Frankly, I did. It's impressive.
This is their first real test of the year. Sure, they've been dominant, but they haven't really played anyone. I think their strength of schedule is like 106th in the nation. So they're going to go into Columbus today, and we'll see what they're made of. And I think the playoff implications here are, we've talked a little bit about it, and we'll get to some more games. I don't want to spend too long on it, but the committee seems to have this deal where it's going to be like 4 teams from the Big Ten and 4 teams from the SEC, and then maybe the Big 12 champ, Boise State, Notre Dame, and the ACC champ. And so I think if Ohio State can go in and dominate an Indiana team that hasn't played anybody, or vice versa, frankly, if Indiana hands Ohio State their second loss of the year, what do you do then? Do you let one of these teams, or maybe even 2 of these teams?
That's a great loss for Ohio State. That's what the committee's going to say.
Yeah, no doubt. But what do you do then? Do you let 2 teams from each of these big, supposedly super conferences just sit at home and watch their conference championship games with no threat of losing, and they still get to waltz into the playoffs? I don't know what the answer to that question is. So I think watching the aftermath of that game is going to be pretty interesting for just for playoff implications.
I think come next Tuesday, both teams are still in the playoff, with the exception of 50-60-0 route, and Ohio State's favorite.
Yeah.
I think if Indiana, even if they have a close game, people within a couple of touchdowns, they're still going to be in that tournament of 12, in my mind anyway. I think it's going to be equated as a good loss to a good Ohio State football team. Right or wrong, that's my estimation of how it's going to go down. If they get blown out, then they're out. If they keep it close, potentially win, and they're in their spot in the tournament of 12.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The other big games, just a little. I think the Big 12 has some interesting action today. I know we deemed them not a power conference earlier, but I think their title race still matters. BYU on the road at Arizona State. If BYU loses again, you could potentially get an Arizona State, Colorado Big 12 title game. I don't think anyone had that one on their bingo card in preseason.
None of the preseason ranked Big 12 teams are ranked currently,
which is just unbelievable. And then you've got the other Big 12 game, as I just mentioned, Colorado. I think Colorado playing against Kansas is a pretty interesting game. There's no reason Colorado shouldn't be favored by more than 2.5 points. I mean, this is an 8-2 team playing a 4-6 team. Colorado on the road, only 2.5-point favorites. Kansas has been playing sleeper the past few weeks, so that'll be an interesting one to watch this afternoon after the Ponies handle business.
Yeah, the scenario we touched on, this is probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, but Army, Navy were undefeated at the time. Navy obviously lost to Notre Dame. Army has a chance to keep their undefeated season going. They go to Notre Dame today, taking on number 6 ranked Irish. Army's at number 19. There is still a scenario out there where Army and Navy can potentially play each other
twice in a row.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what that does, if Army runs the table in the regular season, and they lose that, what amounts to an exhibition match. We'll see what happens. But yeah, excited to watch that game. At least I'll probably score watch now. I won't spend time watching that, frankly. But another one I'm curious is Brian Kelly on the hot seat if Vanderbilt goes into Baton Rouge and takes down the Bengal Tigers.
Absolutely. I don't think the Tiger fans down in the Bayou have much patience for an LSU team that had this high of expectations and then sort of crashed this hard. I don't know if that's a fireable offense, but I'm certainly interested to see what that looks like if LSU were to lose that game at home again.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us this morning, both live here.
Any questions here?
We can.
Anybody?
I don't know if anybody wants to do a Q&A.
If anybody's got any questions, now's the time before we hop off and get ready to kick off.
For those listening online, everybody's shaking their head. And kind of putting their hands up.
Everybody just wants to drink and get started, and that's okay.
Yeah. Hey, if you're not here, we're at Over Under in the Village. Come see us. Kickoff is in
15 minutes.
Yeah, roughly. And we
got
love
one.
to see you.
What was y'all's favorite game for QB?
Oh man.
You
go first. No. That's good.
All right. It's a tough question, Mitch. I think probably my favorite game was our Hawaii Bowl game that Kyle mentioned earlier. I just thought that was so much fun to get to go out there with June as our coach. He is an absolute celebrity in Hawaii. I've talked about this a lot before, but we were getting to do so many cool things because June was the man in Hawaii, and Fresno State just kind of had your run-of-the-mill bowl experience. And then we went out there and absolutely smacked them, and that was really fun. I actually got to be teammates with Derek Carr on separate occasions after that game and made sure to remind him about that more than a few times.
That was fun. For those listening, if you couldn't get a question, it was what was our favorite game to quarterback? Garrett's was the Hawaii Bowl in 2012.
That's correct.
2012.
Christmas Eve 2012, yes.
I will go a different route, though. 2009 Hawaii Bowl was a good one for me. I think the game that I remember most fondly was in 2010. We went to East Carolina. We had a chance to win the West Division of the Conference USA at the time, and we went up to East Carolina, played Dominique Davis, if you remember that name. He was an NFL, CFL guy for many years. Ended up winning, played a good game. Richard Crawford, shout out to Craw. I'm not sure if he's listening or not, but Richard Crawford sealed the deal for us in overtime. We went down and scored, and Richard Crawford picked off Dominique Davis. We won the game. We rushed the field. Our fans traveled extremely well. But another thing that June did is when we went on the road in conference, specifically when big games, we'd all go to the Krispy Kreme after the game before the flight. And seeing the big boys load up on donuts, I had a couple myself. But that was
how many did you take down?
Just a couple. They make my stomach hurt. It's too much sugar.
Sure.
Big sensitive guy over here. But yeah, East Carolina 2010, securing our spot in the conference championship game. Ended up losing that to UCF, unfortunately. But one I remember fondly. Just from the experience, the game was fun, but the travel experience with guys, when you win those type of games, is always fun. June made it extra special too.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the best memories. I mean, obviously those big wins on the road. You remember the games themselves, but the moments with the guys in the locker room and on the plane flight back home, those are the best, the absolute best.
Yeah.
Oh man,
the question is, who on our team currently do we think will play on Sundays? I'm going to say Rashard before Garrett says it.
Yeah, you beat me to it there. I think Rashard is a good choice. I think I'm going to go a curveball. I'm going to go Colin Rogers is definitely going to get a chance to go kick on Sundays. I think he's been really, really good. I think Roderick has a chance. I think RJ has a chance. I think Kevin has a chance as he continues to develop.
Kevin will certainly, at least in my mind, if he continues to want to be the starter and continues to progress in the way he is, there's basically a metric of, I think it's 21 starts. That's kind of the metric that scouts look for. I'll have to go back and see where he is. He's probably close to 8 or 9 now. But yeah, over the next couple of years, he's going to exceed that 21 game mark. And I think that's a good benchmark of college football games started to at least earn a look, whether he gets drafted or not certain. I'm sure size may be a question mark. Hopefully, again, he's a redshirt freshman, so he'll have a couple of good off seasons to build that body and grow into his frame a little bit more. Yeah, and hopefully do it the right way. But I think he's going to clear that benchmark of 21 games and certainly get a shot.
RJ Maryland, I might have mentioned him before, but everyone rooted real hard for his recovery because he had a chance to be a really high draft pick and become a special player at the next level. So I'm rooting hard for him. I think defensively, Kobe Wilson has a good chance.
Elijah
Roberts. And there's some other guys on the defensive side of the ball. Again, not an expert on defensive football, so I'll leave that to the scouts.
Yeah, I think before we close out, I think it's important too. Yesterday we got news of an extension for Coach Rhett Lashley, locking him up. Hopefully, I think college football is interesting where seemingly these guys can bounce around without much repercussions, but excited to have at least a show of good faith on both parties from the athletic department and Coach Lashley. I don't know why you'd leave this program at this state anyway. I think we're only going to continue to get better and better with the portal, with NIL, and the way things are shaking out this year. There's not a better program in the country in my mind to be a part of, and super excited to have Coach Rhett Lashley around for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. Big congrats to Coach Lashley. And again, this is a great time to get on board. I got a little group chat with my work buddies, and jokingly at the beginning of the season, I'd tell them, all right, you guys' teams suck. This is the time to hop on the bandwagon. Well, it's time to hop on the bandwagon because it's going to get full soon. And football in Dallas is going to be a lot of fun for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and especially Cowboys are down. Everybody needs a new team to watch. Come out to Ford Stadium, check out the buddies, spend some time on the boulevard.
Really breaks my heart that they're down.
Yeah, bummer. Hey, have they called you, by the way? They should.
I think some people may have lost my number,
That's unfortunate.
which is all right. I'm happy doing podcasts and
Playing golf,
yeah,
podcasts, living the
yeah,
dream.
and selling insurance. So
Love it. Love it. Yeah, commercial insurance.
Thanks.
It's called Garrett Gilbert. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening online. Look forward to spending time and meeting the rest of you here shortly.
come out to Over Under if you're listening online. Come watch the game.
Yeah, and thank you again, Over Under. We appreciate y'all opening doors for us to be here.
Yeah.
Again, 1911 group, Billy and Bonnie, an On3 sports team. This would not be possible without you guys. We're grateful. Appreciate your time. Everybody enjoy the game. Come see us at Over Under. Let's have a cocktail together. Until then, honey up.
Signing off. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, there you go. I